Trade rumors are starting to escalate for the New York Rangers. After a mediocre start to the season thus far, a new trade target has been revealed, and we're going to break down exactly who this is, what they bring to the lineup, and the implications this has on some of the younger players in the organization. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. We've noticed that about 72% of you who watch these videos on the regular are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, this channel is built for blue shirt fandom, and it's the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. So go down below, hit that free subscribe button, but let's jump right into it. Trade rumors are starting to swirl, revolving around the New York Rangers, and obviously one of them is Artemi Panarin. We're going to cover that in a future video. We've been talking about that a lot, and it's going to be a storyline almost all year. We know it at this point until probably the trade deadline, right? But there has been some rumblings around the New York Rangers with some other players, and I think it's pretty interesting. You can see here in this brand new article from Blue Shirt Banter, they broke down the game the other night, and within this article, you can see here, and shout out to Phil Kosher for transcribing, a low-key trade target for the New York Rangers, Danton Heinen of the Pittsburgh Penguins, or actually of the Wilkes-Barre Stratton Penguins, because he's in the AHL, headed back. We'll get to that in a second, and how this makes things even more interesting based on what happened today. He leads the Wilkes-Barre Stratton Penguins in scoring with 5 goals and 14 points in 10 games. So clearly doing his thing at the AHL level. He's an NHL player. He's played at the NHL level, and of course he has that history playing in Pittsburgh with Mike Sullivan, and could add a little scoring punch. The scoring punch thing, especially with what he's doing in the AHL right now, does make some sense. The Rangers, they can't finish. They're not able to finish right now. That's been a huge problem. All the advanced analytics are pointing towards things could be okay, but at the end of the day, like I talked about in my last video, the results have not been there. The advanced analytics can look good, but at some point in the season, you need to put the puck in the back of the net on home ice. We want to hear that goal song more often. Now, NYR Louis, some other people are saying they like Danton Heinen a little bit more than Connor Sheary, for example. I would agree with that. I think that it would be a good move and probably an upgrade in that way. But let me make something abundantly clear as we continue to talk about, during the course of this regular season, trade targets for the New York Rangers. That doesn't include, the Artemi Panarin stuff. This New York Rangers team is not a Danton Heinen away from making any type of an impact in the Eastern Conference, right? Your power play, which I want to get to at some point in this video as well, is, ladies and gentlemen, dead last in the NHL. Danton Heinen is not going to help that. The problem is in the room, right? The problem is in the room. So no Danton Heinen move. And listen, you might add a couple more points a year, and that's valuable, right? And I think he's a responsible forward. He plays a physical caliber, right? Doesn't shy away from that stuff. And of course, familiarity with Mike Sullivan. That could make a lot of sense, right? But now you're taking another roster spot away from a young guy that maybe deserves it when you're looking down there at Hartford right now, what Gabe Perreault is putting together, and Shimlosh, for example, as well, right? Who's been called up, and obviously there's some LTIR stuff going on. In theory, sure, if you want to go out and get him, Danton Heinen could make some sense. But the scoring punch thing, you're not a Danton Heinen. You're not a lot of these other guys that I see out there in terms of rumors, or, oh, the Rangers need to add a player. They're not, whatever player that is, away from contending right now. They're just not, right? That's just where the team is at. And yes, I do expect them to start finishing a little bit more, right? But I just don't think that a trade like this makes sense right now. Let one of the younger guys, I've been talking about it all summer, let one of the younger guys play instead. Nonetheless, let's get into it, because I think things get interesting here, where you might not actually have to make a trade for Danton Heinen. He's been placed on waivers, and obviously the Pittsburgh Penguins, the organization, Dan Muse, the head coach, spoke out about how, he's handled it very well, right? And I like that. It can go one of two ways usually with players when, they're sent down kind of yo-yoed at times. So he's been handling it very well, so I always take that as a good sign with players. Danton Heinen said going on waivers was obviously news you don't want to hear, but there's not much you can do. You've got to go down, work hard, and work towards getting back to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So obviously there is, if you want to claim the player off waivers, look at his salary. That's also something you have to consider if you're the Rangers, because they have negative cap space right now. The 2.8 million, keep in mind Matt Rempe right now is on IR, and also, you know, LTIR Vincent Trocheck is still out, so once he comes back, they're gonna have to make a move. Somebody's going down to the AHL, so that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Or they can shuffle some things around, get creative, but of course they're going to have to make a move. So if you wanted to pick up a Danton Heinen, either on waivers at the time that I'm recording this, or, you know, trade for him, you're going to have to free up some salary cap space. So that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. When you're bringing him in here, he has played some time at center, so I wonder if you can bring him in at third line center. You've already kind of made your bed with Parsonen with the $1.25 million contract in the offseason, the 2-year contract, keep that in mind. And I know the salary cap is going up, so in theory that's good, but this is the lineup they're rocking right now. Miller is on the wing. They're kind of interchangeable, him and Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad has looked good at center at times this year. I said that wasn't going to happen. It probably wasn't going to happen, but here we are, right? And I was talking about that during the summer. You have the kid line 2.0, but not even close to as good right there with Noah Laba in the middle, Lafreniere and Cooley. Lafreniere has been, you know, something to talk about this year as well. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, the power play, if we want to get to that and some of the struggles that this team is having at some point, listen, we're 14 games in now. You have a home game coming up this weekend against the Islanders, who've also been struggling. You have to win a game at home. You haven't won a game at home yet. Your power play is dead last in the league. Danton Heinen coming in to add some more scoring throughout the lineup is not going to help your power play. He probably wouldn't even be playing on it, right? So these are things that we need to start seeing results in. The process seems to be there. The structure seems to be there a little bit better, although in the last game I saw some things, and if you look at some of the advanced analytics, some things suggest that that game looked very similar to last year, which is bad news, so didn't like that. But they have to clean certain things like this up. And you can see this from Mike Kelly. I thought this was interesting as well. He said, what do you do when you don't hate the process? And this is a very interesting predicament that the Rangers are in right now, and I thought it summed it up very well. When you don't hate the process, but you can't ignore the results any longer. There are no results, right? Or I guess in terms of scoring, literally at home for the most part of this season, there are no results. But in terms of the power play, how can you ignore these results? They're dead last in the entire NHL, and there's teams out there with far less skill on their power plays, right? So that seems to be where the Rangers find themselves. The Rangers power play is a league worst 11%, 4 for 36 on the season. Not great. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you make a move for Danton Heinen? Again, before I wrap up here, I will bring up his salary because that is something to consider. $2.25 million for the rest of this year. It's an interesting idea. He's one of those guys that you can plug into the lineup and he would add some scoring, doesn't shy away from the physicality. Like I said, you know, decent speed, has familiarity with Mike Sullivan, could be an upgrade on Connor Sheary, who hasn't scored this year. So in theory, that could make some sense, but ultimately I wouldn't do it. Trade rumors are continuing to escalate around this team at this point in time. We're going to have some other content on Artemi Panarin. Friedman had some interesting things to say about the current state of the New York Rangers, but let me know how you feel about that in the comments. The power play is awful right now. They have to turn some things around. And in terms of the process, again, there's certain things you can like with the team right now that even I like, right? There's some bright spots, that's for sure. And certain players in particular. And the overall defensive structure, I think, is better than last year. And obviously you have Igor, that helps. But ultimately, the results have not been there. So let me know how you feel in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.